Okay. Tits. That's okay. That's okay. All my books just fall on the floor. It's fine. They're fine. They're fine. It's fine. Okay. Oh, tits. We're going to be talking about my 10 favorite books of this year. And potentially some honorable mentions because I couldn't really pick 10. Okay, I'm gonna go get my burrito. I'm hungry. My burrito? So ready, you guys just find me funny. Okay. Oh, buddy. Oh, okay. Okay, so these books aren't even gonna be in like a specific order. Because I don't know. So, first book I'm going to talk about. It's called Phantasma. I don't know, I don't remember when I read this, but I loved this. It's such a cool take. It takes place in New Orleans, and it's about this girl who is a witch, and her mom dies, and she comes into her power on her own. By the way, I'm really terrible at explaining books, so just bear with me. I get too excited about them, and then I just start mumbling. Anyways, and there's this big, like, I don't know if carnival is like the right word to use, but there's this big spectacle that comes into town, and it's called Phantasma, and what it is it's like this giant house that appears, and people go into this house and go through a bunch of trials, and at the end of the trials, they can talk to a demon at the end, and they can have like any wishes granted to them. If you're ever like a Draco fanfic, Hermione fanfic kind of person, like if you read Manacled and you're obsessed with that kind of Draco and not like the Harry Potter Draco, this man is literally fanfic Draco in my mind. Okay? Alright. Okay. Now, the next one is the One Dark Window series by Rachel Gillig. But it's not One Dark Window, it's Twisted Crowns. The second book, okay, first book was really freaking good, okay? That's probably like an honorable mention for me. And I don't think that this series is talked about enough because it was so cool. I've never seen a magic system like this before. My only downfall with this one is I wanted to know more about the Nightmare. Like, you learn a lot about him, especially in this book. Like, I don't know. There was something missing at the end of this book where I was like, okay, but I want more of the Nightmare, you know? I don't know. Really has no point of views from IO. Okay, that's hot. Okay, so literally all the point of views for the love interest in the second book is from the male point of view. None of it is from the sister's point of view. And I totally thought it was. Like, I'm just checking right now. It's literally all Elspeth, Raven, and Elm. Okay, I can appreciate that. My, like, delusional mind thought that it was just only from the guy's point of view. Anyways, enough about that. Okay, next one. This is making you want a burrito, huh? Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. I have to. Anna Huang. Started with her Kings of Sin series, and then I read her Twisted series. When I tell you I was obsessed from the beginning, is a complete and utter understatement. And I picked Twisted Lies because I love Christian Harper and I love Stella. And I just think that they're like the cutest little couple I've ever seen in my whole entire life. The beginning of the book, well, the book before this, her and her friend move into Christian's like apartment building and he owns it. And when they first move into it, they don't have enough money to like, they go to like look at the apartment for fun, but they don't have any money to like actually afford rent. And then they find out that like the owner of the building has basically said like, you know what, whatever, like we'll waive the rental fees or like we'll make it lower. Because like her friend is basically like, oh well, I don't think we can afford this. And the guy showing them the apartment is like, well, how much can you afford? And she like lists off the rent that they're currently paying. And she's like, and it's like significantly lower than what they should be paying for this current house. It's basically like a penthouse, okay? And they're like, deal, that's what we'll pay. And they're like, excuse me, what? So he's rich because he owns the security detail. So he literally has like a folder of her of like all this information. He literally knows every single thing about this girl. Anyways, it's so good. And he's like so broody and grumpy. And oh my gosh. Okay, so she's an influencer, right? She like posts on her story at one point. Because like the whole thing is like she ends up going, okay, I'm gonna backpedal. She ends up going to this like influencer lunch. She's trying to get to like 1 million followers. And so she knows that this like influencer lunch is gonna be a big deal. And she shows up to this lunch, and then in walks Christian. And she's like, Stella is like, wait, why are you here? This is the broody guy that owns her apartment, right? That she thinks is like super hot. She's like, wait, why are you here? And he's like, oh, so-and-so and I are like BFFs. We go way back. And then her manager calls her after the lunch and is like, you know what? You'd probably get more views and more followers if you like had a relationship. And Christian sees her after this conversation and is like, oh, what was that about? Because he can tell that she's like visibly and like upset and like disgruntled. And she's like, oh, my agent thinks it would be smart for me to like be in a relationship for me to get more followers. And then they come up with the idea of like being in a fake relationship. Okay. And one night they're like in their house and she has this like stuffed unicorn and they're sitting there on the couch and they're getting ready to go out to like a gala or like an art thing or whatever. And he's like dressed up in a suit. Christian is dressed up in a suit all nice. He's like by the window. She like takes a picture to post on our story. And then she posts a picture of the unicorn and then she puts a poll and she's like, who do you think is like more attractive or like who do you like more? And it's like a poll and then the unicorn wins. So the whole rest of the book is big broody security company tycoon has this beef with a stuffed animal. Anyways, this one's my favorite out of the whole series. Okay, next. Because we're going on with Anna Huang, I'm so sorry, that's so bad. King of Prime, I think is my favorite. 1, because Kai Young. 2, Isabella. I love it because Kai Young is British. 1, 2. He's the quiet one, okay? And all my girlies out there, you know the quiet ones are always the best, spiciest, toe curling, feet kicking, giggling like a psychopath once, okay? And that's exactly what Kai Young is. It's amazing. Isabella. I think this chick is so cool. She's like an aspiring writer. She's obsessed with dinosaur erotica, and I think that was so funny throughout the whole entire book. This man, she's like suffering through, what I love the most is she's like suffering through writer's block, and he literally just like, he's so rich, he just gets a bunch of like studies from people and a bunch of scientists to come together to think of like different ways for her to get over her writer's block. I'm like, okay. There's a library scene, so they have like a secret, like is it men's club? there's a club, okay? That's how they meet, is she's like a bartender at this club. And he shows her this library that his family donated or like paid money to be built, but there's like a secret door in the library. He's like, you can write here. You can write here. There's a chair in the library, and there's a book in the library. And there's a moment where they're on the chair, and she's reading the book, and he makes her read lines. Well, he does the things. All right? Anyways, next book. I have finally read the Cruel Prince series, okay? The main female character, Jude, is a total badass. Like, she's so cool. She's a human stuck in this like magical world. She doesn't have any powers. Like, the guy that she's obsessed with, Cardin. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest. It's really hard for me to forget about the tale. Really hard for me to forget about the tale, but that's okay. He has smooth lines. Like, there's one line, like the one line where he says she's getting stitched up by somebody, and he's like in the room, and the person stitching her up is like, you might want to leave for this. Like, I don't know if it's going to be comfortable for you. And Jude goes, yeah, I don't know if Cardin wants to hear me screaming. And Cardin literally goes, not now, but maybe later. Here we go. Oh. I'm so excited for the next one. Okay. 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 This book took me forever to read, mainly because I didn't realize how thick she was. And when I got her, I was really intimidated. And I had heard by a lot of people that it was a bunch of world building. And a lot of people were referencing back and forth to like the glossary. And that freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie. But once I started, I could not put it down. And it is this book. Can you see that? When the Moon Hatched. I will die for this book. I absolutely loved it. This is exactly what I needed to get back into fantasy, because I had just finished reading the Kings of Sin series and the Twisted series by Anna Huang. And so I really, because I'm a fantasy girly through and through. I love fantasy. Always will be, always have been. And so I really needed to get back into fantasy, and this was her, okay? There are dragons, there's magic, there's big, broody eyes. First off, tits. Okay, so the main character is Rave, and you find out that she is a part of a rebellion group, and she's kind of like an assassin. Kind of like she is an assassin, okay? So she finds bad guys. She finds bad guys? What the fuck? She finds bad guys, but it's like the guys that she kills and like hunts down are like disgusting human beings. Like, it's not just like, oh, they stole some money from this person, go do my work and like kill this person for me. It's like, no, this guy like messed around with kids in like the worst imaginable way possible. So I'm gonna kill them. It literally starts off with her hunting this guy down. And then she sees where he is. She dresses up as like a singer for this club that he goes to, seduces him while she's singing, leaves the club, and she knows that he's following her, leads him into this tunnel, and jumps him, cuts things up, writes on his chest like with a blade, saying that he's like a child, and he like messes with people, and then like pushes him down an air chute so like nobody finds him. Also, the dragons in this, there's like different breeds that she explains. These dragons are insane. They're so cool and ethereal, and like some of them, like I don't even know. There's so many things I could go into with this book, like the world building, like the different Anyways, the beginning is, and also kind of like her level of sass, is kind of giving Selena vibes from Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass. Mainly because of the assassinating, mainly because she's like super sassy, and maybe because I just miss my girl a lot, and so I just imagine her in every other single female character that I read about, but that's okay. Okay? That's partially why I liked it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I can totally see Selena in this book. And the MMC is totally giving Cassian, like if Cassian from ACOTAR and Rowan from Throne of Glass had a baby, that baby would be Khan. And I am obsessed. Okay? So good. You guys, I forgot about this one. Heartless Hunter. This one was cool. I was like, yeah, enemies to lovers is like the perfect description of this. That I freaking devoured this. Like, I think I read this in 24 hours. It's about witches and people who are trying to purge witches from the town that they're living in. Okay. I told you, I'm like so excited. Okay. She's the Crimson Moth, and then Gideon Sharp is the witch hunter. Okay. So Rune is like a big socialite. By night, she's the Crimson Moth and like goes and saves all these witches so that they don't get hunted down by these witch hunters. She starts falling in love with this witch hunter. The thing is they like both get together to like get information from each other, but neither of them knows that, if that makes sense. And I was super pissed because I thought the second book was out already, and it is not out. I don't think it comes out until... Oh, no, it comes out in February. It comes out at the end of February. Timeline. I loved her. I kind of loved him. I was upset that they were both trying to get information from each other, and neither of them knew. I was really scared that the cover was going to get blown. Then I was utterly terrified. Then I was traumatized. Then I felt betrayed. And then I felt even more betrayed, and I cried for 2 days straight. So, 10 out of 10 stars. Next book. Oh man, okay, I have mixed feelings about the next one. The next two, I have very mixed feelings about. Okay. Okay, this one, I bought this one on a whim late one night on Amazon because I saw like 5 people in a row talk about it on Instagram and TikTok, and I bought it on impulse. Was it traumatizing? Yes. This series, can you see that? The Ravenhood series, okay? I saw so many people talk about this book, and it was good, okay? Hear me out, it was good. And this is why here's the reason why it made my top 10. Because it was the most traumatizing. Like, I stared at a wall and stopped. Okay, you know what? Here. In New Moon, when Edward disappears and he's like gone, and Bella just like sits in that window and like all this like seasons pass her by, and she's just staring out that window. That's how I felt reading this book. And that's why I made my top 10. Okay, next one. This was hard to get into, but it also wasn't at the same time. But it was also annoying, but it also wasn't at the same time. It is the Magnolia Park series, okay? And book 2 made it, and I think you can guess why, because it's Daisy Hades, not Magnolia Parks. So, Daisy Hades. Magnolia Parks in general. Okay. First book pissed me off because BJ Valentine was insufferable, okay? Utterly and completely insufferable. The whole, like, back and forth between Magnolia and BJ, I was so over it, like, halfway through the book. I was like, okay, you gotta find someone else. And she does find someone else. She finds Christian. She finds the pilot guy, which I can't remember his name. But the whole time, it's like her whining and complaining about BJ. And I'm just like super frustrated and annoyed. I'm like, dude, just drop this guy. He sucks. He's literal garbage. Anyways, the ending had my jaw through the floor. If it could go further into the crust of the earth, it would have. Okay? The ending was insane. And because of that ending, I kept reading, and I'm so glad I did because I got to Daisy Hades. Daisy is like a total badass, and that's why I love her. She's studying to be a doctor. Her brother is like the leader of one of the gangs in London. She does Krav Maga, and there's like one scene where this guy's like hitting on her, and her bodyguard comes up and is like, are you good? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. And she's like, ah! Like right in her face, right in this guy's face. I love her, okay? I would die for her. Then she starts getting into Christian, which pisses me off even more because he's like obsessed with Magnolia. What you find out, because you find out in the first book, because BJ gets pissed about that. Anyways, she's into Christian, but Christian is literally like doing everything in his power to like piss Magnolia off because Magnolia didn't choose him. So like it started pissing me off because they would go to a club and he'd bring Daisy, and then like you could tell he was like doing stuff to just like piss Magnolia. Like he would grab Daisy and like make out with her, but only whenever Magnolia was present. And I was like, ready to throw hands. And it was really frustrating because you could tell Daisy was into him. I don't know. Of course, they like, then what got me is they made the deal where it's like, okay, like don't fall in love with me, because they're like, they were just hooking up. They made a deal to like just hook up with each other. And they're like, okay, it can just be hookups. But then they started like bringing each other around to like events and stuff. And that's when I started getting pissed because I'm like, you're just showing her off for Magnolia. Then they actually start going on dates because he's like, whoa, I actually like this girl. I was just around Magnolia and I wasn't trying to get her attention, but I was thinking about Daisy, not Magnolia. Whoa, that must mean I like her. And then she gets fed up with the situation they're in, and then he ends up liking her. And it's just this whole thing, and the ending is literally like she loved him too early and he loved her too late. And, oh, there's an ending, there's a part where she, like her and her brother are literally like this, okay? Because they went through something like super traumatic together, and they're like this. At the end, there's she loved him too early, he loved her too late with the Christian guy. Then at the end, there's also a part with her and her brother. Bawled my eyes out. I was so mad at both of them. I was more mad at him. Also, Julian Hades is a hot piece. And I'm currently reading A Long Way From Home. And the only thing keeping me going is Mr. Julian Hades. So, anyways, those are my 10 favorite books. Oh, honorable mentions is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I will try to put a picture, like right here. Oh my gosh, if you have not read that, no, I have not read Caraval? No, I have not read that series yet, and I'm kind of apprehensive because I feel really comfy about how things went with Once Upon a Broken Heart. Here's the thing though, I do want more of a background story between of the vampire in the book. Please help me, I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, there's a vampire in the book, and he has to wear a muzzle. Chaos, that's his name. His name is Chaos. And he's into the other girl. Anyways, he has like a history with one of the other characters that's friends with Jax. And I need their backstory so much. If their backstory is in Caraval, I'm going to be pissed, because then maybe I do have to read it. And I feel really stupid. But anyways. And the fact that he like has to eat apples around her is what stops him from doing like you know what. But yeah, that was an honorable mention. I forgot the best series of all time that I read this year. I'm going to put it right here. Boys of Tommen. Stop blurring on me. Boys of Tommen, okay? Okay. That is the best series I've read this year. Absolute 10 out of 10. No, infinity out of 10. When I tell you that this series altered my brain chemistry, I am not joking. Okay? Favorite book out of all of them, I can't pick a favorite. Because you meet Johnny and Shannon. They're beautiful. They're adorable. And I would die for their love. Joey and Aoife, I can't even. I can't. They're so cute. Joey, I would die for Joey. He's the dad. He takes care of everybody. And my heart, there's so much trauma. Joey literally, like, Finding 13, Johnny literally loves Shannon's eyes so much, the color blue, that he goes home after knowing her for one day and researches the color charts to know the exact color blue of her eyes. And then my sweet, sweet baby boy, Gibbsy. When I tell you I would die for that man, I am not kidding. Gibbsy and Claire's love story, they're like obsessed with each other since they were like 5 and 7 years old. They're each other's first kisses. Like, I can't. That boy has so much trauma, and she is there for him like every step of the way. And they're so in love with each other. It's so cute. He has like an evil cat that shits all over the place. So freaking good. And if I had to order them, Boys of Tommen would be at the top. Because I finished that series back in September, and it is January. I have not stopped thinking about that series. Anyways, those are my top 10 books. Thank you for being here. And if you have any books to recommend, please comment them and let me know. And I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I keep doing this. Okay. Bye.